Yo, what's good, YouTube, man? It's Gary from the Fan TV, man. Back after the video, like the content, video, go and smash that like button at the content of this channel. Go ahead and subscribe, man. Look, so the Ravens have finally released their initial 53-man roster. Like, I'm recording this right now. It's 8:30 at night because the Ravens waited all day because it's not even a loophole, really. It's just the fact that you're not obligated to announce your waiver cuts. The league they send them into the league, and then the league does their thing, right? When the league decides to release everything, that's when you can release your roster. So the Ravens, the Giants, and I believe they said the Buccaneers, just said screw it. When the league announces it, they announce it. We're not about to announce our stuff early and give people a competitive edge. Me honestly, I think it's a little silly. I don't really know how much of an edge you're giving other teams by knowing who you're cutting early. But it is what it is. Here we are, right? So ready for 3-man roster. Quarterback, no surprise here, Lamar Jackson, Josh Johnson. Running backs, Derrick Henry, Rasheen Ali, Patrick Ricard, Justice Hill, okay? They put Ricard in there, but you can beat with the tight ends easily, whatever, right? Wide receivers, Ravens decided to go with 6 wide receivers. So they go Deontay Hardy, Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, Alex Aguilar, Tylan Wallace, and Devontae Walker, right? So they got listed by numbers here. That's why I'm reading the name in that kind of order. All right, tight ends, they go with 3. No surprise. Likely, Kohler, Andrews. Offensive line. Now this is where people thought it might be different. They put Nick Samac on the 53-man roster, right? Nick Samac is injured. I guess Harbaugh. I think Harbaugh says only an ankle sprain, so it's not too serious. He's come on the last couple of weeks and has a real shot to be the Ravens' backup center, right? All right, so Samac, Linderbaum, McCary, Cleveland, Rosengarten, Saleh, Voorhees, Josh Jones, Falele, and Ronnie Stanley, okay? All right, that's your offensive lineman. And, Saleh's got kind of a guy that's had an up and down preseason. He makes the team, all right? Your defensive line, no surprise here, really. Pierce, Matabike, Roger Washington, Brent Urban, Travis Jones, right? For the last couple of years, Brent Urban has been a guy where, the Ravens would cut him and they would have a secret handshake deal to bring him back. This year, don't need to do that. He's on the 53-man roster, all right? Linebackers, inside linebackers, okay? So they got Roquan, Trenton Simpson, Malik Harrison, and Chris Board, all right? Josh Ross is not on here, all right? Let's see. Outside linebackers, you got Adisa Isaac, Kyle Van Noy, David Ajabo, Tavius Robinson, and Odafe Oweh. Okay? All right, for the cornerback room, you got Nate Wiggins, Jalen Armour Davis, Brandon Stevens, TJ Tampa, Darius Washington, and Marlon Humphrey. For your safeties, this is where the biggest news is to me right here is that Bo Braid, Kyle Hamilton, Sanusi Kane, Marcus Williams, and Eddie Jackson, right? Sorry, reading these names and with the numbers is throwing me off a little bit. And then your special teams, you got Tucker, Stout, Nick Moore as your long snapper, and you get 2 injury designations that you can, carry over into the roster. The 2 people that the Ravens decided to do were obvious. Arthur Marlette, designated to return, right? He's going to miss the first month of the season at least. And then Keaton Mitchell also going to miss the first month of the season at least. All right, so no surprise there. All right, like I said, so now I would say like the biggest surprise, I thought Bo Braid was going to be on this team for sure, and he is on this team. I thought that he beat out Sanusi Kane, right? I didn't think that the Ravens were going to carry Bo Braid and Sanusi Kane, but it just shows how much the Ravens value safety play, right? The Ravens want to be comfortable on the back end, and I like Sanusi Kane, so I wasn't advocating for him to be cut like nothing like that. It's just the fact that it's a numbers game, right? Everybody can't make the roster, okay? So for both of them to make it, it shows that the Ravens really care about secondary, and it shows that those 2 guys played really well, right? When Sanusi Kane played in the preseason, I like what he did, and I definitely like what Bo Braid did, right? I gave him the stand-up performer from the last game the Ravens just played, all right? So for me, wonderful to see him make the roster, right? Local kid, went to Maryland, all that kind of stuff, right? So that's a good feel-good story. The Ravens have a history of keeping undrafted free agents on the roster. I would say that this 53-man roster isn't really too much of a surprise, right? If I had to say some of the notable cuts, right? So we can talk about that, right? Pepe Williams, Owen Wright, Kadir Ismail, Devin Leary, Anthony Miller, Russell Gage, Sean Ryan. Now, that's not saying notable like, oh, I expected all these guys to make the team, but they were just names that we've heard throughout the process of training camp. And with those names, Pepe Williams is the one that stands out, right? The Ravens are very, very deep in the cornerback room. I can't see Pepe clearing waivers and coming back as, a practice squad player. I don't see that in his future. So Pepe is a guy that I really, really liked as a Raven, right? His on-field play I thought was decent. What they asked him to do, he did it well, right? Now this last game versus the Packers wasn't his best showing, right? He did come off the edge early in the game, but after that he had kind of had a rough outing, right? So Pepe is a solid player, decent player, but the Ravens have younger guys and they have more talented guys, right? That's just the fact of the matter, all right? So for him, I'm sure he'll find a spot on the roster somewhere, but it's not for the Ravens, okay? On right broke his foot, so that kind of tainted his roster spot because really he was outplaying Rasheen Ali. Kadir Ismail was a guy that the Ravens converted to tight end. They really liked him. He'll probably be practice squad. And Devin Leary being a 6th-round pick, if he clears the waivers for the Ravens, he'll probably go to practice squad as well, right? So, and then the wide receiver room, right? It was all the big, who's going to be what right now. Deontay Hardy didn't do much in the preseason, but or really in the offseason in general, just because he missed a lot of time. But he ends up making the roster, right? So he's going to definitely, to me, that tells me that he's definitely solidified himself as the Ravens return man. Because, if you look at it just from a pure wide receiver standpoint, Dayton Wade is a guy that's a notable cut that's not on this roster, right? I just talked about Russell Gage and Anthony Miller. Now, Russell Gage didn't really do too much for the Ravens. He got injured, and that kind of slowed up his process. But Anthony Miller was making plays in practice. He was a reliable target in game. If the Ravens would have said, "Hey, look, we want Tylan Wallace to do kick return, punt return, right? You're the return man." And we throw Anthony Miller on the roster, I wouldn't be surprised by that, right? Or they just kept 7 wide receivers and maybe dropped one of the linemen, right? For what the Ravens did, I understand it, right? Anthony Miller, they could just bring him back on the practice squad. Same with Russell Gage. We'll see what happens there. But Deontay Hardy was here to do a job, right? With the new kickoff rules and everything like that, the Ravens want to have a dynamic return man. So the Ravens committed real money to Deontay Hardy. So I'm not entirely surprised that he made the team, right? The Ravens aren't going to usually pay a guy and cut him in the same offseason, right? They committed real money to him. So, but if we would have saw him more consistently, say throughout the offseason training camp process, I would feel a little bit better about it. But at the end of the day, it is what it is, right? So I will say I'm happy for Tylan Wallace, right? He's really proved himself. There was no doubt that whether or not he was going to make this team or anything like that. But, I'm happy that he is on the roster, okay? And another last guy I didn't mention was Sean Ryan, right? Sean Ryan's had a guy who's been a kind of a preseason training camp kind of stand-up performer kind of guy, right? So the Ravens had to cut him. Maybe he'll come back, practice squad as well, right? So, all right. Last thing I did want to talk about is that, the Ravens, if they're not satisfied with their wide receiver room, right? I talk about bringing certain guys back to the practice squad, right? There are a lot of names for notable wide receivers that were cut this offseason. Now, these aren't guys that are going to be wide receiver 2 or anything like that, but there's some guys ahead that can be 3, 4 for the Ravens and improve the room, right? Especially if, a guy like Tez Walker is not going to give you much year 1, right? Okay, so guys that were cut today: Noah Brown, Tim Patrick, even though he's going to sign with the Lions, Kadarius Toney, Justin Ross, Terrace Marshall Jr., John Mechie. Well, actually, I'm not sure John Mechie was cut. I'm going to hold off on that one. But Allen Robinson, Sterling Sharp, Robbie Chosen, and KJ Hamler, right? So KJ Hamler was playing a little running back for the Bills this preseason, right? But I look at a guy like Noah Brown, big target, 6'2", 6'3", maybe 6'4", I'm not sure. But anyway, somewhere between 6'2" and 6'4", big guy. Had a really nice season for the Texans before he ended up getting injured, right? He had about 500 yards in 10 games as a third option on that team, right? A third wide receiving option, right? So I was impressed with him. Kadarius Toney, we know about the hands issue, things like that, the attitude, whatever. I don't expect that. And Justin Ross, he might not even clear the Ravens medical process, even though he has been cleared to play by the Chiefs guys or whatever, right? But there are some intriguing names on here to see what the Ravens decide to do in free agency if they attack any of these guys in terms of bringing them in, off the waiver wire, right? So my initial reaction, honestly, to this Ravens 53-man roster is that I'm not too surprised, right? I would say that, if there was anything that was, I wouldn't say there's anything that was shocking. I would say the most surprising thing to me is that Sanusi Kane and Bo Bray both made it. I thought it would be an either or kind of thing, right? So I'm happy for both guys. The Ravens really, really care about safety depth, right? And when you're in a league that's a heavy passing league, and also when you have a guy like Marcus Williams, right, who has dealt with his injury issues in the past, right? You want to be deep at safety, right? You want to have that cover just in case. You never know. Hopefully, he's fully healthy this year. Hopefully, Kyle Hamilton is fully healthy this year, but it's football, right? You can't predict these kind of things. So, I understand why the Ravens did it in the end. So, for me, I would say there's some big, huge surprise on there. It was to be expected. So, give me your thoughts and reactions to the Ravens 53-man roster, their initial roster, that is, right? Let me know what you would have changed, what surprised you, and we'll talk about it in the comments, man. But it's Gabriel, this is my fan TV. I'm out.